Good morning, y'all. Hope y'all are doing really good. Sorry I missed last week's upload, but we're gonna make it up today. I'm going to be doing a card chat about a topic I have gotten lots and lots of questions for. So we're gonna be talking about how to choose between audit and tax. A lot of y'all who are still in college, you know, you're trying to get an internship, but then you're like, do I do an audit internship or do I do a tax internship? And typically, you won't even have taken an audit or a tax class. That was how my experience went.
8 minutes, slow down. You are still
When I interned, I had not taken an audit class or a tax class. So kind of had to base it off of what I heard from people. So I'm sure you've heard some of this, but also I'm going to kind of sprinkle in some truth that I actually have work experience in public accounting industry. So profession, whatever. Some people get all pissy when I say industry or profession, but you know, whatever. Anywho, first off the bat, I'm just going to say, don't listen to people who say, if you're introverted, go to tax. If you're extroverted, go to audit. That is not the absolute truth, especially when you're talking about like a public accounting firm. I know of many tax people who are extroverts. They get energy from being around other people. I also know of auditors who are introverted, and I don't like putting people into those kind of buckets, but you know, by introverted I mean who feel a little bit more uncomfortable with social interactions. Their energy is drained from being around people and they need to just like take a minute to be by themselves and regenerate and whatnot. It doesn't mean that they're just like a hermit crab. I feel like I'm kind of a hybrid. I enjoy being around other people, but at the same time I get drained. To recharge, I try to get away from it and unplug and go do the stuff that I like to do, be around my husband and Juicy and whatnot, and my friends and families. That should not be what makes you decide between audit and tax. The only thing I will say, if you do feel like you are uncomfortable in social settings and in interacting with the client or with people in general, but you, after hearing stuff in this video or in my other videos, like the type of work that there is, as long as you are willing to push yourself outside of your comfort zone, then you will do fine in audit. Just because you feel a little bit uncomfortable or you feel some, I guess, anxiety when you go talk to other people, that is a natural thing. It happens. When I first started in public accounting, I was always nervous to go to the client, but I pushed through it. I still went to the client and asked my questions, and even though I felt like I probably sound like a dumbass, as long as you're willing to push past that, even if you don't do that great at first, but you just keep on trying to develop yourself, you will do fine. In terms of interaction, in the audit side, you're typically out at your client. A lot of the interactions are face-to-face. So if you had a question, typically you would walk over to your client and ask the question. Sometimes you'll send an email, but for the most part, advice of the day is if you're in audit and you are at your client, try your best to go and ask the questions in person. Try not to always do it via email. You're trying to build that relationship. You work with these people a ton. It also gives you the opportunity to, if you do feel a little bit nervous or uncomfortable, gives you that opportunity to practice. On the tax side, typically the questions that you have, you send it via email or you'll call on the phone. My understanding is that they don't typically go out to the client. You usually do it from firm's office. Sorry, my battery died, so we're just gonna resume the card chat, but now it's gonna be a dressing room chat. Auditors will 95% be out at their client's office. You could be going to 4 or 5 different locations in any given year. Sometimes more, sometimes less. As an auditor, I always feel like I'm kind of a nomad. I kind of go from one place to another. I don't have really like a set place in the office that's dedicated to me. Tax people for the most part are in the office. If you're a person who just wants to go to one place every single day versus, you know, going to one place and then in a few weeks going to a different place, that's also something else to think about. Typically in audit, you're working in team environments. You're always with someone else out at the at the client for the most part. Usually you're sitting in a conference room, you're usually always like in some kind of a group setting, whereas in tax I think that is a little bit more individualized. Like if you have something that you're working on, you go and you work on it in your cube, in your office. Sometimes I'm literally in a conference room, you get to sit in your spot and you have like a little bit of space in between you and the other people. But there have been times where I've worked literally, my work area was the width of my body, was my laptop and my notepad and my mouse and stuff like that. It was literally just like that space because of the type of work that we do as auditors. So something else to think about if you like being around people like 24/7, not 24/7, whenever you're at work, being in a team environment at all times versus being more on your own and being more individual. Something else to think about. In terms of busy seasons, a lot of people think that busy season is until April 15th. Even my family still think that my busy season goes through April 15th, and I'm like, no, I am not. I'm not in tax. I do audits. Audits, your busy season is from January to the end of April. Your public companies that file in the first 60 days following their year end, and then you have like private companies that come afterwards. So typically you hope that your busy season is done by the end of April. Now there are one-offs in audit where, you know, maybe you have a client with a year end of March 31st or a year end of June 30th and your busy season gets a little bit longer at that point. Really, busy season isn't just like 4 months out of the year. It can drag and usually does get busier throughout the year. You're definitely not guaranteed always to have 40-hour weeks after busy season, formal busy season ends. At least my firm, we try to do that so as not to burn anyone out, but at the same time, if there are client needs and that's what needs to happen, then kind of happens. For tax, y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, for the tax people who watch this, there are typically like 3 busy times, and to be honest, the tax people in my office seem to work super late, like at least at the office super late. I know there are times when they'll stay there until midnight or whatnot to meet the deadlines. Big deadline obviously is April 15th, where you're doing tax returns or you're trying to get extensions out. And I think the tax returns that they do are for like individuals and then for companies as well, like big corporations. There's also the September 15th and October 15th deadlines for tax. So when you extend it, your due date is later on in the year. So that's something else to be aware of. Either way, busy season sucks. It's the nature of our profession in public accounting. So that's just something you kind of just have to be okay with. If you join public accounting, you just know that you're gonna have busy seasons, and that's kind of what you sign up for. Now, in terms of the actual work, if you wanna know more about audit and what I do, I have a video that I'm gonna link up here where I kind of talk really briefly about what accounting and what audit is about. As an auditor, I am really just verifying my client or the company's financial statements that they are following the standards that are set by our regulatory bodies, GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. Now, we do have tax people help us with our audit, primarily just in the tax related stuff that go in the financial statements, and because obviously that is specialized knowledge, we have our tax group help us. They don't typically come out to the client, they'll just be working from their office. I have a very basic knowledge of that, obviously, since that's not what I specialize in, and that's why we have our tax group who helps us. That's what we are, we're auditors. We're not there to consult with our client, we're not there to tell them how to do things. We can be like a trusted business advisor, we can maybe help steer them in the right direction, but we can't do it for them. What we do is we look at what they provide us and we tell them if what they are doing is right or wrong. That's basically what we do as auditors. Outside of what I just explained for helping with the audit side, if you're a true tax professional, you're preparing tax returns, so you're doing tax returns for individuals, you're doing federal tax returns for corporations, state income tax returns, franchise taxes, and you're helping your client calculate like their taxable income so they know how much they're supposed to pay to the federal government or to the state. Rather than just looking and being like, what you're doing is right or wrong, they more look to see like, is there some kind of a loophole? Is there some kind of an allowance that are in the tax law? And so they're really looking based off of like the IRS's regulations, state regulations. Some of the things in the tax world obviously aren't 100% per GAAP, which is what auditors look at. The tax people are more looking like, how much of something does the state, federal government allow? For example, meals and entertainment expense for a company, I don't know if that's one of them. Rather than being able to deduct the entire amount, you're only allowed to deduct a certain amount. I don't know all the ins and outs of the tax law, so I can't give a whole lot of examples on that. As an auditor, you are governed by the AICPA. The financial statements is in conformity with GAAP or with IFRS, depending on what standard your company uses, or that it conforms with SEC regulations. On the tax side, you are making sure that it's in conformity with the regulations that the IRS or that the state has set forth. I don't know if that made a lot of sense. I can't really get into all the technical concepts of tax because obviously I don't do tax. I will link a video down below and I link it up here as well. There is another YouTuber who used to be in the Big Four on the tax side. He does singing videos, but he has a very succinct video about what tax accountants do in public accounting, which I really enjoyed. I watched it and I thought it was interesting. I will link him. I think his name is Rosendale Sings and he has a very nice voice. Another thing to think about is job opportunities if you were ever to leave public accounting. With tax, when you leave and go into industry, it's a little bit more of a specialized knowledge that you have. So you can go into industry being in the tax department of a corporation, potentially leave and be like the director of tax or VP of tax or tax manager of a corporation, but it would be specifically tax related. So if you really like tax and you like the concepts of it, I mean, that's something that's interesting to you as a career choice, and that's great. If you don't want to make partner in public accounting as a tax partner, then you do have options going into corporations or doing consulting for tax related work. Now, audit, I might be a little bit more biased, but I do feel that when you leave with an audit background, there is a more wide variety of job titles that you can have when you leave public accounting. When you have external audit experience, you can go and do internal audit for a company. You could do SOX controls, you could do the general accounting for a company, you could do financial reporting. There's a lot of new standards coming out like revenue recognition and leases. You could always leave and consult or do the complex accounting for a company. I feel there's just a lot more job opportunities. I might not know of all the possible jobs that tax professionals may have, exit opportunities from public accounting. So if you are a tax professional and there's more opportunities than what I've said, then please leave them in the comments below. I would greatly appreciate that, just because obviously I don't know. But at the same time, if you really do enjoy tax and you enjoy the concepts of it, then most certainly you can make that your long-term career path. That is specialized knowledge as well, and not everyone who comes out of public accounting, like an auditor, is not going to have that specialized knowledge. So there's always a give and take for sure. Now, I do know that if you wanted to switch from audit to tax, that is possible. I actually know of people from being tax wanted to switch and went into audit. So that's always an option as well. So my best advice to you is just to take the things that I've said in this video, decide which one sounds better to you. Don't base it off of outgoing, not outgoing, because that's definitely not the norm, especially in public accounting. If you are able to do an audit or a tax class before you intern or before you start looking at classes, I think they're usually at the junior level, aren't they? So maybe that won't work out. Both are very challenging career paths. If y'all have any further questions or if anything was not super clear, please leave them in the comments below, because I'm gonna start catching up with comments. And we also have a really awesome supportive community on my channel, which I am so thankful for. So thank you all for contributing to that. I have certainly noticed and I have loved that. The busy season has kept me super busy. I haven't had the chance to really keep up with comments and whatnot, so I absolutely love that y'all are pitching in and giving your advice as well. Let me know if you have a specific car chat topic you want me to go over, or a dressing room chat or whatever. I will likely do a Q&A video pretty soon because, like I said, I haven't been able to catch up on comments, so this might be the easiest way for me to address them since I'm so behind, Okay, so I hope that was helpful. My little cutie here found a tiny piece of a sprinkles cookie, dragged it off my dressing vanity table, and she ate it. Yeah, you ate it. You ate it. And I found the wrapper. It was all kinds of jacked up. I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please Clearly she thought it was boring. So if you enjoyed it, please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to join my subbie family because we would love to have you. We will talk to y'all in our next video. Bye, cutie pie. Okay. Deuces.